Hello everyone. Today we are talking with Hendrik Hemken. He is CPO in a FinTech company, OWNLY, and we are super excited to know more about his style of work, how he manage his team, how he able to create different features in the project. So hello Hendrik again.
Hi, thank you for having me, for the invitation. Really glad to be here.
Will you introduce a little bit yourself? How have you got acquainted with this company? How have you became a CPO? A little bit your story for us.
Sure. So I will focus on the most recent jobs and not go too far into the past. So yeah, I'm as you said responsible for the product in the company. A good friend of mine, who is the CTO of the company, brought me to the company, and actually I brought him first. So without being in the company, I recommended him to the CEO or. And he asked me one day whether I want to be joining the company as a CPO as well. There's fun stuff to come in what lies in the future. So and I said, yeah, I'm into it. Actually, I was at a different company, but that was in the probation time where I said, well, this is actually a way more interesting opportunity, and that doesn't come too often. I was a product owner there. Did a little bit of leading people, or not leading people, but leading more the process of producing one big product with multiple product teams, with doing design stuff like or design iterations and all that stuff. So, and before that, and I think that's the one thing more to mention, I was a product owner for a banking app as well. And well, maybe one more step, and before that I was at Good Game Studios. So it was a gaming company which was building free-to-play games, which was the best training for everything which is digital. So always good to mention it. There was the foundations for many good thoughts on how to build stuff and how to ship stuff, how to test stuff, how to market stuff. So there was really a good foundation for everything to come. And I'm profiting from this until now. So that's really something I took over, or took for me, because it started 2013, and they did a lot of things really, really well back then. So yeah, basically that's me. So we have a team, maybe for the company now, we have a team mostly of freelance developers, all from Poland. We have a lead developer in Poland, and basically his peer group, or a couple of his friends, he gathered them around him, and they're more or less the active team and the actual team that we're working with. So there's just not a lot of fluctuation. So we have a fixed team. We work completely remotely, which is especially currently not harming us, because we don't have to cope with that. Yeah, we can just go on with the work we're doing. So design development is in Poland. We drive there or come there on a regular basis. They come to Hamburg from time to time. So we have these stuff as well. We have marketing in Hamburg, and testing and sales. So yeah, we have a small Hamburg office, which is really nice, but do our dailies and stuff completely remotely.
That's very interesting history. How do you manage the team, the remote team? What instruments do you use, and how the process is organized?
We are doing more. We're still doing a Scrum, basically production cycles, but we found out that we more or less do more Kanban than Scrum, because we're not releasing at the end of the sprint all the time. We're releasing in between, sometimes when it's necessary or when we finish something. So we will switch, or thinking about switching from Scrum to Kanban to have more freedom there. We have no problem with urgency or prioritization. So that's why people use Scrum. Normally, so that, because it helps with that, but I think we will go with Kanban in the future. So yeah, if that was your question.
Yes and no. I mean, how often do you call your team? Is it difficult to? How often do you meet them? How do you do you use the framework OKR, for example, to synchronize their goals and goals of company and stuff like that? How actually all that look like?
We're still too small to think about something like OKR. Like currently, the roadmap and the prioritization is pretty clear, or more or less, it's clear for a small circle that has to decide on that. So it's basically the CEO, our CTO, and I who are doing the prioritization stuff, and this is good. We can handle that between our three. So we not yet have the scaling issue that we need to scale our priorities and what KPI to optimize. So, and it's good to do that not with the OKR. I've seen OKR frameworks really blowing up meetings and time which is not used for actually working on the product. So I will try to avoid that at any costs. Because that should be something for bigger companies, which creates a lot of headaches and problems. It solves a lot of them, of course. I don't want to neglect that, but it's tough to do that for all the parts in the company. So as long as I'm able to give a clear priority what to do next in a small circle, and we are able to communicate that down to the rest, and they are aligned with that they understand why we are doing that, and that this is okay, and we can clarify everything with discussing maybe in a smaller round, then I will try to keep it like that, lightweight.
I see.
Your other question, like how do we get in contact? Like how do we actually get in contact? We have a daily every day at 9:30. So everybody tells what he's doing from like everybody from not only the development team, from marketing guys as well, so that everybody knows what everybody's doing. And then we have just Skype calls from time to time. So we're using Skype. It works better than in the past. So they made good work there. And Slack. So most of the communication is via Slack, but we're using Skype whenever this is necessary. And we try to talk as often as possible. And yeah, it's working really well. So because you have the opportunity to do deep work, uninterrupted work more easily, because the people are not standing up and coming over to your desk, or I'm not going over to the desk of my devs, and they can work really deep into one topic, and they really enjoy that. So they really like the silence and the focus on things. It's really a big thing because yeah, as always, things are complicated and have to be thought through. So that's something we have. We have almost no meetings. So that's actually one thing. We have no planned regular meetings, almost. So we have, of course, the sprint, the sprint cycle with planning, refinement, retro, and all that stuff. And that comes up, of course, every sprint. But we even are able to switch the meeting length to 1 hour or even less, like depending on the situation we're in. So that's really a huge positive for me, because normally product people have the issue that they are in 1,000 meetings and don't have to think about the product, and sit down and go through it and think about new things and ideas together with the UX guy. So that's really something I really enjoy, and the others too.
Mm-hmm. How long do you usually do you have some limitations for these daily meetings?
What do you mean for limitations?
Time limits. I mean, do you?
No, actually not. We are pretty quick because everybody wants to be out quick. We are at maximum 12 or 13 people there, so it's not many, but enough to extend this. We are normally out pretty quick, so at 9:45, maybe 10 minutes to 10. If it goes longer, then it goes longer. And there is the situation where the CEO gives a lot of context as well, so there's the opportunity for him to do that, to talk to the team a lot. He's not directly talking to the devs that long. He lets us do that, like me and the CTO. So yeah.
Mm-hmm, I see. And which benefits do you see out of using Slack? For example, previously we have used Skype for chatting with each other. Now we use the other messenger, but why Slack? Is it somehow integrated with your other systems, or why?
No, it is not. It's just the most convenient thing to use. It's not overblown. Like the news version is more advanced. There's a lot of things in there, but I think Slack is pretty lean in terms of functionality, so it doesn't have too much of it. We don't use the phone, the video call thing in Slack. We use Skype for that. I don't know why. I think it works better. I don't know why actually. So we're using Slack to communicate with short messages, and it's convenient. It's a bit colorful. That's nice. So it's a small thing, but you can do emoji stuff, which is good for remote teamwork. You can have a little bit fun there, with of course the random channel that everybody has with a lot of gifs and memes in it. So that's really a neat thing to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand. And the other question is more about the project than about the framework. I haven't actually asked you about which product do you actually develop.
Good point. I could have mentioned this myself, but I didn't. So okay, we're building a finance tool for wealthy people. So for people with actually more assets than just like like me, just having just a bank account and maybe some securities, but not much more. But for people who need to organize their assets and want to track the value of their assets, and for example, real estate, old timer, expensive watches, and all that stuff, which really makes up quite an amount in their portfolio. So we're building something that they can use to oversee this. It's not a banking tool where you can do transactions. It's more just overviewing your assets. And it's not only for. We have an app that's doing that on a person basis, and we have a web product which is out since December in a beta, and now as an alpha. No, not as a 1.0 version, which is for families. So where you can overlook your family assets, because families of kind of wealthy people often have structures which are more complex than others. So you need to know who maybe has what kind of assets, and how this aggregates to the family assets, and where maybe your family risk is the highest. Like when you're 90% real estate, then you will most likely be really bad off when a real estate crisis happens. So you need to diversify, and this will be the goal that we're working into, that people can use that in order to allocate their assets better.
How do you collect the data about the assets? Do you integrate it with some APIs of different providers, or how does it work?
Yeah, we use Figo, like FinLead Connect, I think it's now called, and FinTech systems. So a banking service, like a provider that serves us with all the bank accounts and the depot values. That's one part for everything that can be gotten from banks, and we have for if you put a Bitcoin, put your Bitcoins there as well. We don't have a direct connection to a Bitcoin wallet. We just get the Bitcoin price from a partner. I think it's TeleTrader right now, but we will extend especially that to hopefully one day to any asset the user can give in there, like that we, I don't know, fetching or scraping the eBay stuff for some kind of watch that users put into and give him a kind of a market value for that. Or there are providers like Chrono24, I think for watches especially, where you can, or you could in the past at least get the prices for expensive watches. So that the user can aggregate that and gets an idea of how much his assets are worth, because it's a subjective thing really most of the time, and the more information we can give him, the better. We actually do that with real estate. We have a provider where the user can estimate his real estate value and put this into his portfolio. And yeah, that's basically it.
So this is actually a cool bunch of services, and people that just don't need to use your app like an Excel sheet, and they
exactly what you said. So that's in the user interviews we're doing. That's the comparison. Like, the banking apps are not serving this purpose because they are caring about transactions and all that stuff, but not for assets. And all the people are using Excel, so Excel is our biggest competitor. So we have to be better than an Excel sheet, more convenient in order to be worth for the user. Exactly, you know this.
And what is your plans? Do you work in Germany currently, or do you plan to move somewhere further to worldwide market?
It depends. Currently, we're using the banking APIs really heavily, and there most of them are, or two providers are in Germany, and so we're getting all the German banking account data. But of course, there are ones that are getting European bank account data as well, and international ones as well. So this gets better and better over the time. But still, currently, we're staying in Germany. We are on. I think we wanted to go to a conference in Southeast Asia to see at least if this is something that people are interested in, to just get an idea for the market value. But I think because of Corona, we won't go there. So so ideas, yeah, but not a real thing right now.
It's actually the thing which I wanted to ask you about, the how have you changed your way to organize some customer development interviews? How have you done it before? Or has something changed now these days?
That's a really good question. We are lucky that we did a lot of customer interviews and usability tests at the beginning of the year and at the end of the last year, and now we are building something a little bit bigger that we want to give out and test. But yeah, we are lacking. We're already feeling the lack of possibilities to test with users. We started preparing user interviews remotely, but they are just in a preparation phase. So we use Figma, which is really handy because you can share it over the internet, and even the prototypes can be used and tested by the people on the other side. So we will try to use that. In the past, we always try to do that in person whenever possible. But yeah, that would be the way to go right now. So use Figma, Skype or Zoom or whatever else is okay for the other user, and yeah, do basically that. Tough though.
And how, for example, earlier you could go and attend some meetups or conference to find people who talk about assets and just cusdev them. But how do you plan to do that now? Because I guess this situation will last some time, maybe some months, probably. My opinion, or you have more optimistic view and you just don't think about the changing the way how you do the interview.
You mean the customers, right? Where I find customers to ask them how they want to use the product.
Yeah.
We have actually a tiny user pool that we collected in the first days, like especially in the early days in the beta version. We were really active about, okay, we need your feedback. We want to collect your feedback, and whoever customer wrote us that something maybe is not working properly, we ask him, well, thank you for your feedback. This is really really valuable for us. Can we ask you later for specific other features we have in plan, or we are planning? If, like, even in a design phase, what you say, whether this is valuable for you. So we have a pool of users to connect to. So for the first rounds, they will help if they will do that. But yeah, we will try to work with our user pool as well to get in contact with them, because the issue is our users cannot be acquired in a user interview session. Like, there are agencies who offer you people from different ages, like young people, older people, where you can test some usability stuff, but of course the specific usability stuff we have related to wealthy people is not easily obtained in this kind of context, because the people always need to have an idea what it is to have an asset and what's the problems with that. So that's a big deal, but we try to leverage our customer bases.
I see. Do you think about reaching out new customers for the interviews via LinkedIn or Sync? I don't know, using some groups where they talk about the assets, or maybe some other ways.
Yeah, we have done conferences. I think 1 or 2 years ago there were conferences we were active. I don't know whether we were actively. I think I wasn't there 2 years ago, so I don't know whether we recruited people for getting information. It was more about the cooperation stuff. So this could be something. I don't know whether there are people who would actually do that, but that's a good idea. Like, we have to come up with ideas. Maybe that's something I write down and try, because yeah, you're right. You have to find these people, and because yeah, they're not gotten by an agency so easily. We have no retail product which can be marketed like other things. Of course, we use a little bit of search engine optimization, a bit of Google marketing, but this is has to be targeted pretty well.
I'm always asking about the beginning of the project. Have you joined only from the start?
No, actually, the product the company is 4 years old right now. They started with an app, and did a couple of side hustles as well, and built the app to a certain point, and we then extended and moved on to the web application, which is now Only Family. And I joined when we started with Only Family, so the app is pretty old and was the first leap into the app economy and the digital stuff. The initial kickoff was it was founded from a bank, from someone from a bank, but as a separate venture. But they need to acquire a lot of digital skills and learned a lot, and they did that. And now we have a pretty stable team, which we can work on the next thing. So the app is pretty old, 4 years in the digital context. You know what I mean? Is pretty long. That's why we're looking forward now.
Mm-hmm. I see. The idea of the application is super interesting, and I just and you just how to say confirmed my thoughts that it was someone who have background with some banking or assets or something like that, or that's because these days is any startup is a story mostly about the personal background of some founders, I guess. The ideas are not flowing in the air anymore.
That's true. Yeah.
So and how do you actually organize your work? Do you go and you have some information from the interviews, and have you prepared a lot of mock-ups already, or is it work like do you iterate, always go to developers, then to customers, and negotiating some ideas like some testing of new interfaces, or do you just go there, develop something, and go to customers only once in 2 months, or how do you do that?
We don't have a fixed time span to do that. It's always a lot of effort to do the interviews. So I try to clump them on a specific time frame to go through them. We did that in January, I think. That was really valuable. So this has to be done as much as possible. We got a lot of feedback out of that because our beta version was we had a design for that that was a bit tested until a certain point, of course, but we wanted to bring across a couple of things. We brought that up, released that, and then gathered feedback, and now we're building on top of the feedback, like in what direction should we develop it, and what's necessary. And now we will, after we release the next MVPs of the next features, we will gather more feedback. Of course, you should do that earlier, but because we did the research on the topics we're now building before, we thought to skip it because we thought the things we're doing have to be done basically anyway. So especially it comes to the calculation of the performance of your financial assets. That was something we started with really lightweight, and of course we knew that this would be an issue, but we want to start it anyway just to have something out to gather feedback. So we knew that we had to tackle that issue, and now that's something we are building. And of course we have some ideas to visualize the performance of their assets, their real estates, and the old timers and the watches and so on. But and we are building now something that we have a good opinion that this could be of interest. We try to make it a little bit different than other providers do that, not on a huge scale. It's really minor things, like we try to use cards instead of table rows and all that stuff. and a little bit more on that scale, and see whether this direction makes sense for the user, and we bring it across properly, and then iterate on that. So as you asked, yeah, we're iterating heavily, and we of course try to test first with usability prototypes just on a sketch or on a Figma basis. But for some, we are directly going into production because we know that we have to tackle them.
Sounds very professional from me.
Well, it depends, of course. That is something that I really enjoy working here. We don't have we need to do that on a regular basis. We have fixed meetings for that. It's just when we feel, and for myself, for me, I can speak, when I feel that we have to gather feedback on something and the pile stock somewhere, that we need to do stuff. So that really feels good. That's something about when you worked in agile environments enough, you at least think that you're learning to gather these noises and to react when it's time. Like, okay, now we need a user test to verify this and that, because this is too big of a hypothesis if we go into that direction. So yeah, it really feels good. Yeah.
By the way, what is the model of making money, making profits of your product? Is it subscription model?
The app had several attempts to monetize via subscription, and then before I joined, they wanted to monetize a report that can be downloaded and sent to your email file, but that didn't work. People are not really willing to pay for financial apps. That's something that not only we, but many other apps learned the hard way. Yeah, we are doing the OWNLY family, like the family product, with a sharp target group, and try to make the USP even more clear. It was at the beginning was a banking app with added assets, like where you can add more assets than just the banking. And now we try to move the focus a bit to the assets, to non-banking assets, a bit more to sharpen out the USP. And then we charge money for that. It's currently we introduced a subscription with €10 per month. For the target group, it should be okay if you can handle family finances there, but it's still a bet. So we have to still figure out. It's not. We want to try this out as early as possible as well. It's not normally you say retention first, then monetization, but we wanted to do that anyway. So. Well, this is a subscription model for now, but we are thinking about different ways to earn money as well. So we do side hustles working for other finance companies, like investment funds and so on, that don't have digital experience, and we do more or less agency work for them, which helps us building the other product, because we can use this knowledge to improve our product. Because when we're working with a specialized private equity fund, we can transfer the knowledge to our private equity asset that we have in the tool. So it's usable for us, but we have to monetize or finance ourselves through that.
I see. The question is, so as I understand correctly, you don't. This application actually doesn't earn money currently, or not.
We earn money, but we're on a low basis. So we're just launched, just collecting feedback and stuff. We have some subscribers already, but of course not in the millions.
I see.
That this will never be the complete business model. We would be would be fine with that, but we have to find something else then. So finance products are hard to monetize, and but to be able to have the target group with wealthy individuals would be a possible way to show them maybe interesting stuff they could invest into, and if they want to optimize their portfolio. So that could be something as well. But we haven't decided on something yet. But what we definitely will not do is is using the data of the customers, because the users we will have, and they will use our product, really data really secure with their data. And so we want to make up for that, definitely. So they don't give it away. We're heavily secured. We're doing penetration tests as often as possible, and so on. So not advertising with them without their explicit okay. So that's something we really have on our side as well.
Mm-hmm. So which metrics do you use to measure the success of some iteration? If there are no money metrics, yeah, then what? Maybe some application installs, or do you measure it somehow anyway?
Yeah, because on apps it's pretty easy, because you have iTunes Connect, and Apple and Google does a nice thing there as well. So when switching to the web product, we don't start with tracking. We are now extending that. So of course we have in our backend, we have some tracking of activity when user logging in and so on. So we can calculate. So mostly what I'm focusing about is daily active user. So that's something I want to focus on, and this is the most relevant for me as a product person thing to optimize, or daily or even monthly active, but daily is a better for now. Of course, it's not a product that you open on a daily basis. You're doing it maybe on a weekly basis or something, but it's fine until now. So this is the one metric. Of course, we have we measure the assets under information. So we know where, not for everybody individually, but for the aggregated values of all assets that are in the tool. So we know how many assets we have on information, and how the split looks like. And this is really interesting for people as well, because we can give them an idea. Okay, the normal split, for the average split for people is like so and so many percent in real estate, and so and so many percent in stocks and securities. And to give you an idea how the current market looks like, maybe not be the optimal portfolio, but that is something we're measuring as well, like how many assets we have under information. Then we have definitely all the marketing KPIs to have the marketing conversion calculated properly. And of course, at the very end is the monetization KPI, like active to pay. So that's something, my CTO and I were both at Good Game Studios, and that was something we really learned, how the funnel should look like, and how the activity KPIs and the marketing KPIs get together. So yeah, that's something we're building on.
Mm-hmm. I see. I think I'll ask a couple of questions, because I believe you're a very busy person. I don't want to bother you too long. Question is about the difference. I mean, in Russia, we have not so much of fintech startups, because our banks, they are just so monstrous, and they creating super apps where they add some functionality. They work with different startups to provide more and more lifestyle banking experience, to push people to use their application more and to make more money, because the credit, no, not credit, lending business is not so profitable these days, and they are trying to diversify their business. What's the situation in Europe and in Germany, especially with banks? Are they too slow these days? Are they? Do you feel that they may be competitors to your application, that some banks could create something like that you do, having a lot of information about their customers, and I mean, where is the difference, and what is your feelings about the future?
So a couple of questions here. So the thing what do the European banks do, or how can they become maybe a competitor to us? I think that was one of your questions. Like, of course, this is buildable. Like, we're not doing high tech stuff here, but what we have, definitely what others don't have is that we are focused on this user group, which is normally not for every bank really interesting at the first place, because it's not a huge retail product where the amount of potential users is gigantic. So not many banks are focusing on this kind of user. So of course they are going to this direction, because no, let me start differently. They most of the banks have good retail products, retail apps on the market, or not always good, but they focus first on the retail products, of course, and now they're jumping into specific products. Now, small and medium company products are coming more and more. Startups doing lending stuff, credit stuff on a bigger basis or on a bigger scale. So these different parts of the whole market are worked on slowly, and we're at a point, as I said, where we have a really specific kind of user group, and banks are not targeting them properly, because you really have to focus on these in a different way. So it's nothing where the business case tells you, well, if everybody pays €1 for an application, you can earn millions. So it has to be a different way. So that's something there is no real competitor out there. Especially, there are a lot of competitors out that doing it on the other, like on the advisor side, like people that are advising wealthy people to overview their finances with heavy, incredible, complicated things to calculate revenues and all that stuff, risk parameters and other things. But they are lacking on B2C knowledge and how to do that, make that usable and interesting and fun maybe for the users. So it's hard numbers work, and we are trying to do this a little bit differently. We're not there yet. We started with numbers as well. We try to make it a little bit more usable in terms of the pure UI, but we're still finding a way into how far can we go and to make this a more casual thing, because it's a family product, something that people should use and not a real finance calculating heavy stuff. So I think banks, they start thinking about this kind of target group, but they are lacking on make the experience special, make the communication special to a specific user group. Like, how do we talk to users? How do we make the family thing something in our marketing tools, and how we sell it, and all that stuff. So banks are slow when it comes to specific wordings and communication to the users, and that's needed for this kind of group, I think.
I see. So you stick to your users, and this is your focus.
I know USP actually. So we see it really that we do the interviews with these kind of individuals. We see that as a USP. Like, how do they see the world? Like what you said, the Excel sheet stuff. Many people are thinking about how could we do the banking accounts even more better. No, the banking accounts are not the competitor. We don't have to. They are not caring about what kind of insurance I have and when it is subtracted from my bank account. No, that's not the question that they're asking themselves. It's like, how do I manage my fund, or how to manage my real estates, or something else.
And the last question is, as a long-time professional, as we can say it like that, probably you had some mistakes or fails where you have learned, or something that you can share with us, just when we can learn, where we can learn from that, if this is not a secret.
Of course, that's a good question, and I have to think about something. I think most of the things is well, especially as a product person, everybody knows his craft more and better than you. Like, I know a little bit of coding, I know a little bit of marketing, I know a little bit of whatever process stuff, banking, of course, finances. But all the people who are their major job is to do that, they know their and the thing is, especially as a product person, I'm doing a ton of mistakes every day. Like, whenever I write a ticket and explain something not good enough or not communicating something good enough, and this happens on a regular basis. There are always things that were left out. You can prepare something as good as possible. It will never be the thing you need. Somebody is always missing information. So that's maybe the not the biggest mistake, the biggest one-time mistake, but if you add the amounts of effort that produced, and it's the small things, but you have to be fine with that and live with that. So I think that has to be something everybody has to be okay with, that you're doing mistakes on a regular and daily basis.
I see. So even if you, when you create something new, when you create new features, new ways to do the old stuff, it's just happens. How to say, disorder, maybe the correct word. When some chaos around you, and this is some normal situation for
that's true.
Project manager.
Yeah, exactly. That's the smaller day-to-day struggles. Of course, on a bigger scale, I think the most, maybe my brain needed a bit time to process that. I think the biggest thing is I didn't push, like in the past, I didn't push things hard enough in a company where you're in a real, as a product owner, normally you're not at the very top of the company in traditional company ways, because you have a kind of a boss who's leading something. But I should have pushed more to make crucial product changes that were more drastic, or could have been more drastic. So it's more on that regard. I had a couple of ideas that I didn't push as hard as I could. Maybe that's something I would do differently. Like, maybe that is a way to interpret the question.
And how do you decide then when you should push it, and what would be the arguments? I mean, is it was it money, or what was it, some useful things for users?
I think, yeah, for me, it would have been not a rebrand, but a reframing of the product, or bringing the product into another direction, which is now it's going to one direction, and it would have been a slighter direction in a different way, and this would have caused a lot of trouble in the company and a lot of costs, and it's not certain how if this would work out. So and this has to be argumented, of course, like and if you're not on top of the company, and you have to argument with business KPIs, like this will be the revenue we get from this, but this is not certain. Like, if the idea or what that I have in mind is based on user interviews and feelings, it's hard to build a business case of that, even though you could do that. But that's something that has to be brought across. Of course, you can pitch for that with the bosses, but that's something you have to be more. That takes time, and you have to be really hard on, and not hard, but really strict on, and give do a lot of, maybe not politics, but to convince the people, and that's something that's really tough when you have to deal with the product and do all the day-to-day stuff that you have to do, and maybe that's.
I understand. As a product managers, people always worried about their projects, and always there's something to do better. And I believe that every CEO should listen, but sometimes they listen the new ideas, some new ways to do something. So, but anyway, it's the good advice to sometimes to pitch harder something that you believe in. Something changes.
You wrapped it up pretty well. It's exactly that's it. At least try, because you can fail. That's okay, but at least you tried. And I think that's the job of a product person, to really pitch for that, because you're the only one who's really talking with the customers, and that's why I'm really thankful in this situation. Like now, if you're in a CPO role, wherever you are, you have more freedom to do that and to push for that. And of course, you have people who are on the other side and pitch for other things, but. Yeah, the smaller the company, the easier that is, of course.
I see. Well, thank you for good advices, for your time. It was very interesting to talk with you.
Thank you for having me.
And for sharing your experience.